There comes a moment in every man's life when he must look himself in the mirror and ask, not what the world expects of him, but who he was meant to be before the noise drowned out the fire. Strip away the masks, the roles, the expectations, the cowardice passed down like family heirlooms. Strip away everything. And what's left? That's the question most fear to ask, because they already know the answer. Very little. A shell. A dim flicker where once there was fire. But that flicker? It is not gone, it's waiting, smoldering in the ashes of conformity. And to awaken it, you must suffer, you must break, you must choose rebirth over comfort, transformation over praise, power over popularity. Because if you do not become who you truly are, the world will forget you ever existed. The man who bends his will to fit the world dies in pieces. But the man who bends the world to fit his will, he carves himself into legend. You want comfort? You want safety? Go back to sleep. But if something inside you is still awake, if there's a voice inside screaming that your life was meant to mean more, then burn everything false to the ground. Burn the lies, the stories, the excuses, the victimhood. Burn it all. Because you cannot become who you are by negotiating with mediocrity. You become who you are by going to war with it. That's the difference between the average and the great. The average want peace and applause. The great want battle and clarity. They don't ask for the easy road. They ask for the mountain, the one nobody else is willing to climb, because they know what waits at the top. Not a trophy, not applause, but truth. Truth of who you are. Truth of what you're capable of. Truth of what this life could become if you had the courage to drop the act and fight like hell for your becoming. Do you think Edison found light by waiting? Do you think Carnegie built steel empires by being liked? Do you think Ford changed the world by asking for permission? No, they dared. They suffered. They went all in on their vision and let the world catch up or fall behind. They weren't born different. They became different. By fire. By failure. By force of will. Nietzsche said it clearly. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But most don't suffer because they have a why. They suffer because they don't. They walk through life as ghosts in flesh, haunted by unlived potential. The enemy is not the world. It's not your boss, your bank account, your past. The enemy is your refusal to rise, your addiction to comfort, your obsession with fitting in, with being liked, with staying safe. But here's the truth. You are not here to be liked. You are here to be lit, on fire with purpose, driven by vision, unwilling to live another day as a watered-down version of what you could be. You are not a slave to your circumstances. You are the architect of your soul. And if that soul is buried under years of compromise and fear, then dig. Dig with discipline. Dig with hunger. Dig until your fingers bleed and you find the raw, burning truth of your identity beneath the rubble. This world will not hand you your purpose. It will not reward your potential. It only responds to power, and power belongs to those who claim it. But claiming it will cost you. It will cost you your excuses, your laziness, your victimhood, your need for validation. It will demand everything weak and soft and passive in you be destroyed. Can you handle that? Can you endure the death of who you were in order to become who you were born to be? Because that is the only real question. Not, how do I get more? But, am I willing to become more? Your life doesn't change when you want it to. It changes when you demand it to. When you plant your feet in the storm and say, this ends with me, this mediocrity, this aimlessness, this life of quiet desperation, I will not die this way. That's the spark. That's the fire. And once lit, it cannot be extinguished by opinion, setback, or time. That's why the world fears the man on fire, because he cannot be controlled. He cannot be broken. He cannot be bribed into silence. He walks alone, yes, but not because he is weak. He walks alone because the road to becoming is not crowded. It is narrow, brutal, and sacred. It demands you leave behind the shallow praise of the herd and walk into the depths of your own becoming. And that is where you meet yourself for the first time. So if you're ready, truly ready, then kill the lie. The lie that says you're not ready. The lie that says you need more time, more support, more certainty. You don't need more time. You need more truth. And the truth is this: you already have what it takes. You just haven't decided yet. You haven't committed with blood and bone. You're still flirting with your future instead of forging it. That ends now. Let them call you obsessed. Let them mock your intensity. Let them say you're too much. That's the price of greatness, and only those willing to pay it ever hold it in their hands. You want to be remembered? Then do something worth remembering. You want to leave a mark? Then stop leaving excuses. The world doesn't care about your potential. It only remembers your results. And results belong to those who show up after the world has given up on them, those who stay when others run, those who fight, not because they believe they'll win, but because they refuse to live as cowards. You're not lost. You're just afraid of what you must become to be found. And that's good. Fear is the forge. Struggle is the sculptor. Discipline is the fire. Become the fire, or be forgotten. No one is coming to save you, not your parents, not your partner, not your friends, not some guru online, and certainly not the system that profits off your stagnation. If you're waiting for someone to give you permission, you've already lost. The warrior does not wait for approval. He moves, he builds, he suffers, he creates. He drags his vision out of the realm of dreams and into the cold, brutal light of reality. And he does it alone if he must. Because greatness has never been a group activity. Do you think Lincoln had a cheering section as he faced down a nation torn in half? Do you think Malcolm X needed applause when he stepped to the mic with death threats at his back? Do you think Joan of Arc hesitated at the flames? No, they moved anyway. They moved through doubt, through fear, through hell. And in that fire, they became more than human. They became immortal. You want to talk legacy? Then ask yourself, what do you stand for that is so true, so undeniable, that you would burn for it? What would you sacrifice your comfort for? What would you endure humiliation, failure, rejection, and ridicule to build? Because if you have nothing in your life that meets that standard, then you are not alive. You are a spectator. And the world does not remember spectators. It remembers the ones who stepped into the ring, bloodied and unbowed, and said, "I will be more, even if it kills me." This is what separates the average from the extraordinary, a willingness to go where others refuse to go, deep into the unknown, deep into the pain, deep into the parts of themselves they were taught to ignore. And that's where you find the edge of who you are and who you could be, the edge of cowardice and courage, the edge of history and obscurity. You are standing on that edge right now, and there are only two options: retreat or leap. If you leap, there is no safety net. You will fall, you will bleed, you will be broken. But in those breaks, something greater will be born. That's the alchemy of struggle. Nietzsche called it becoming. The process by which man transcends his conditioning, his programming, his weakness, and emerges reborn as a higher being. Not through ease, but through chaos, through confrontation, through radical self-overcoming. He knew what most still fear to face. Comfort is the enemy. It deadens the soul. It pacifies the will. It lulls warriors into sleep with soft blankets of distraction and dopamine. But suffering? Suffering awakens the lion. It reveals what you truly value and what you're willing to lose to become who you must become. No one climbs Mount Everest by accident. No one stumbles into mastery. No one drifts their way into greatness. They choose it, and they choose it daily. With every early morning, every sacrifice, every painful repetition, every refusal to quit when everything inside them screams to give up. That's how the sculptor forges the statue, not with one strike, but with thousands. Not with hope, but with hammer. So if you're waiting for the perfect moment, stop. There is no perfect moment. There is only now. Raw, unpolished, merciless now. And it is more than enough. The man who waits for certainty before he acts will be buried with his dreams still inside him. But the man who acts in spite of doubt, he becomes a force, a presence, a name that echoes beyond his time. And that is your duty, to become so undeniably you, so fierce in your mission, so uncompromising in your truth, that history has no choice but to remember. The world will try to tame you. They will call your intensity too much, your discipline obsessive, your purpose arrogant. Let them. That is the language of the weak trying to rationalize their comfort. Do not bend. Do not water yourself down to make others feel better. Do not shrink so the average can sleep soundly. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out, to rise, to roar, to own the fire inside of you and wield it like a weapon. This world was built by the unreasonable, the rebels, the visionaries, the obsessed. Every advancement, every innovation, every breakthrough was forged by someone who refused to be like everyone else. They were mad enough to believe they could bend reality to their will, and then disciplined enough to do it. So the question is not whether you can become great. The question is whether you're willing to endure the brutal, beautiful process that greatness demands. And most won't. Most will settle. Most will find excuses. Most will trade their power for approval, their purpose for pleasure, their fire for a paycheck. But you wouldn't be listening if you were most. Something in you knows there is more. Something in you aches when you see mediocrity win. Something in you refuses to die quietly. Good. Hold on to that ache, that fire, that voice inside that whispers, "This is not all there is," because that voice, that is the voice of your true self calling you forward. Answer it. And when you answer it, everything changes. Not overnight, not in one glorious transformation montage. No, the truth is grittier than that. It's in the moments no one sees, the days you wake up tired but train anyway. The nights you're filled with doubt, but keep building. The thousand small decisions where you choose growth over comfort. That's where the transformation takes root. In silence, in solitude, in sweat. You begin to realize the real war was never out there. It was always within. Within your mind, within your discipline, within your ability to confront your own lies. The lie that you're not enough. The lie that someone like you can't succeed. The lie that failure means it's time to stop. Destroy them, not gently, not with hesitation. Tear them from the walls of your mind like weeds choking your potential. Because belief is not just a feeling, it's a weapon. And if you wield it right, it can bend the course of your destiny. But that belief must be earned, not with affirmations, not with pretty words, but with blood, with work, with days stacked on days where you show up when most would quit. You will not always feel powerful, you will not always feel inspired, but you can always be disciplined. And discipline, that cold, relentless engine, is the bridge between who you are and who you could become. Ford didn't feel ready. He was mocked by every established horse and buggy man of his time, but he moved anyway. Carnegie wasn't handed wealth. He built it from dirt with strategy and sweat. Edison? He failed over 1,000 times before light bloomed in his glass. Do you think they were superhuman? No, they were committed. That's what this world rewards. Not wishes, not dreams, but obsession. A level of intensity so fierce that even the universe steps back and says, "All right, let's see what you've got." And when you reach that level, when you commit with your soul, your time, your breath, the path starts to open. You start attracting different people, different challenges, different power. Because like attracts like, and once you embody greatness, greatness finds you. But hear this. The price is steep. You will lose things along the way, friends, comfort, old identities. You may even lose parts of yourself you thought were essential, the ones addicted to approval, addicted to ease. Let them burn. You are not here to preserve the past, you are here to become the future. And becoming is a brutal process. Ask the caterpillar, who must dissolve into formless goo before wings are born. Ask the sword, who must endure fire and hammering before it can cut through anything. Ask any man or woman who ever mattered. They will tell you, the price of immortality is pain, but it is pain with purpose, and purpose makes the suffering sacred. Because once you have that purpose, once you've found that mission that makes your blood heat and your spine straighten, everything else becomes noise. Distractions lose their grip. Fear starts to shrink. The opinions of small minds bounce off your armor. You stop chasing and start building. You stop doubting and start declaring. That is the shift. From victim to warrior, from seeker to creator, from dreamer to doer. But here's the final test. Can you hold that fire when the lights go out? When no one claps? When the applause fades? When the winds are far between and the only thing you can hear is your heartbeat and your own breath? Can you still show up? Can you still choose the path of most resistance? Because if you can keep forging ahead in the darkness, then nothing, and I mean nothing, can stop you. You become untouchable, not because life gets easier, but because you get harder, sharper, clearer. And in a world built on distraction, indulgence, and noise, clarity is power. So clarify who you are, not the version others expect, not the mask you wear to keep the peace, but the primal, undeniable truth that burns in your bones when no one is watching. That version of you, that's who the world needs. And if you deny that version, you'll live a life of quiet regret, a life of could-have-beens and almosts, a life where your fire dies slow in the suffocating grip of comfort. But if you embrace it, if you unleash that version, full force, no apologies, then you'll do what very few ever do. You will become unforgettable. You will carve your name into the wall of time, not because someone handed you a chisel, but because you tore one from the stone and carved it anyway. That's the mission. That's the standard. Become who you truly are, or be forgotten. They'll tell you to be realistic, to lower your voice, your standards, your dreams. They'll call your hunger dangerous, your ambition arrogant, your vision delusional. But listen closely. The world has never been moved by the obedient. The great revolutions of thought, of invention, of destiny, they came from those who refused to be tamed. Nietzsche said, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe, because the tribe fears the one who rises, the one who dares to stand alone, to speak fire in a room of silence, to walk paths not yet paved. They call it madness until it becomes history. That's your path, not the one of the crowd, but of the lion, fierce, unyielding, and unapologetically free. But understand this, you do not become the lion by roaring once. You become the lion by hunting, day after day. Even when you're starving, even when you're wounded, even when the jungle itself tries to swallow you. You earn your roar, and you earn it through alignment, not fake positivity, not surface-level hustle, but deep, violent alignment with your why. Why are you doing this? Why do you rise when others sleep? Why do you bleed for something no one else believes in yet? Find that answer. Grip it like a sword. Burn it into your mind until it becomes part of your identity. Because there will be days when nothing makes sense. When the world feels like it's collapsing and your old self begs you to go back, to comfort, to safety, to mediocrity. That's the moment you must decide. Will you retreat or resurrect? Will you shrink into the coffin of who you used to be, or rise, bloodied but breathing, into who you were always meant to become? There is no middle ground. You are either dying slowly in the cage of conformity, or breaking yourself into something immortal in the furnace of evolution. And make no mistake, it is a furnace. The world will test you, not to destroy you, but to reveal you. Every setback is an invitation. Every loss, a lesson wrapped in fire. Every failure, a mirror asking, do you still want this? And if you answer yes enough times, with your actions, not just your words, you start to change. Your eyes sharpen, your habits harden. Your standards rise like a tide no one can stop. You stop begging for opportunity and start becoming the opportunity. You stop waiting for a call and start being the call. That is what it means to be sovereign. Not a pawn, not a product, not a slave to the algorithm or the approval of others, but a force. A soul so deeply convicted in its purpose that even fear bows in its presence. And that level of power, it can't be given, it must be forged. Forged in the fires of isolation, of rejection, of relentless, brutal self-honesty. Because only when you strip away everything false can the real you emerge, raw, untamed, limitless. That version of you is not polite. It doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't wait for the right timing, the right conditions, the right mood. It moves, it acts, it strikes. And in that movement, in that violent alignment of vision and execution, you become free. Not the kind of freedom sold in ads or shouted in slogans, but the rarest kind, the freedom of self-mastery. When your mind obeys you, when your habits serve you, when your emotions bow to your will, not the other way around, that is power. That is the fire Nietzsche spoke of when he said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Because once you have your why, truly, deeply, the how becomes irrelevant. Let the storms come. Let the walls crumble. Let the world laugh, doubt, question. You will not stop. You cannot stop, because the mission is too great and the cost of playing small is too unbearable. So keep going, keep becoming, and never forget, in a world that tries to mold you, numb you, pacify you, your greatest rebellion is to become who you truly are, or be forgotten. There is a sacred violence in becoming, a tearing down, a rebuilding, a refusal to accept the easy path. The weak crumble at the threshold of transformation because they think becoming is a gentle process. It is not. To become who you truly are is to declare war on every lie you've ever been told, every illusion you've ever accepted, every soft voice inside that whispers, "Settle, stay safe, stay small." You kill that voice, not with rage, but with relentless creation. You build something louder. You build a vision that screams louder than your fears. You build a purpose that pulls you harder than your excuses. You build a self that is so undeniable that even your enemies are forced to admire you in silence. Do you think Carnegie became Carnegie because he played nice with doubt? Do you think Henry Ford tore down an entire industry by asking for permission? Do you think Walt Disney, bankrupt, broken, betrayed, waited for conditions to be perfect before he created the kingdom that now dominates the imagination of the world? No, they became more than men. They became symbols. And you are meant to become a symbol too, not of comfort, not of compliance, but of creation, of fire, of force, of the unstoppable will to rise. But here's what no one will tell you. Before the rising comes the breaking. Before the peak comes the pit. Before clarity comes chaos. You will lose people. You will outgrow your environment. You will find yourself in rooms where no one understands your vision, where silence stretches between you and them like a canyon. And still you must build. You must push. You must keep crafting the person only you can see. Because that version of you, the one with sharp eyes and an iron spine, is not found. He is forged. She is summoned. They are created breath by breath, choice by choice, in the crucible of discipline. Discipline is not punishment. It is remembrance, a daily ritual of remembering who the hell you are. Discipline is saying yes to your higher self and no to everything that dulls your edge, no to comfort, no to distractions, no to low expectations, weak energy, and excuses that rot your greatness from the inside out. You must become ruthless, ruthless with your time, ruthless with your focus, ruthless with your inner circle. Because what you tolerate, you teach yourself to accept. And you were not born to tolerate mediocrity. You were born to torch it, to rise above it like a phoenix coated in scars and purpose, knowing that every ounce of pain was fuel for the becoming. That's the truth they won't teach you in schools. They'll teach you how to obey, how to conform, how to follow structure, but never how to build your own. Never how to say, "I will not live this life by default." Never how to rebel against the ordinary. But you must. You must rebel. Not with noise, not with chaos, but with clarity. The kind of clarity that pierces through all fog and says, "This is who I am. This is where I'm going. And nothing will stop me." Because once you have that level of clarity, the world starts to move. It doesn't give you everything, but it begins to bend. It begins to test you, to see if you mean it. And if you do, if you show up day after day, burning with intention and backed by execution, then the world gives you something far more powerful than comfort. It gives you consequence. You become a consequence, a storm in human form, a living, breathing reminder that power isn't granted. It's taken through will, vision, and the courage to break everything false inside you. So break it, tear it down, burn the old stories, shatter the masks. Because you weren't born to be what they expect. You were born to be what they never saw coming. You are the fire. So forge yourself, or be forgotten. There is a moment, and it comes for every warrior on the path, when you realize that no one is coming to save you. No mentor, no guru, no millionaire with a map, just you and the raw silence of decision. And in that silence, you either collapse or you create. Because becoming who you truly are requires one thing above all else: ownership. Radical, merciless ownership of your mind, your habits, your outcomes. You stop pointing fingers. You stop waiting for luck. You stop seeking validation from people who gave up on themselves years ago. You face the mirror and you say, if I lose, it's on me. If I win, it's because I earned it. That's the threshold. That's the gate most people never cross. Because it's easier to stay a victim than it is to become a force. But a force is what you must become. Unshakable, focused, chiseled in solitude and sharpened by the blades of hardship. Because pain is no longer your enemy. It is your blacksmith. It hits you, bends you, heats you in the fire of challenge, not to destroy you, but to temper you, to harden you into something the world cannot bend. But you must embrace the process. The lonely nights, the early mornings, the grind that no one claps for, the sacrifices no one sees, the internal battles no one understands. Because that's where the real work happens, where the average fall off and the few keep rising. You think Lincoln wasn't broken in that cabin before he broke the chains of slavery? You think Jordan didn't sweat alone in empty gyms while the world laughed at his failures? You think Oprah wasn't dismissed, doubted, denied, and still rose with a voice so powerful it reshaped culture itself? No one handed them a throne. They built it, from rubble, from rejections, from resolve. And you will too, if you decide that the cost of greatness is a price you are willing to pay. Because the truth is, most won't. Most will sell their future for a cheap present. They'll trade discipline for dopamine, vision for vices, hunger for hollow pleasures. But not you. You're not here to taste life. You're here to devour it, to rip the mask off existence and demand, give me the truth, no matter how hard it is, no matter how much it breaks me, because I'd rather be broken by truth than comforted by lies. And that kind of power, it doesn't just shift your life, it shakes the world around you. Because when you walk with purpose, the ground remembers your steps. People feel it before you speak. You become magnetic, not because you followed a script, but because you became a force of authenticity in a world full of actors. You stopped performing and started living, fully, boldly, unapologetically. But hear me now. This path is not for the faint-hearted. You will bleed. You will doubt. You will feel the full weight of every excuse, every weakness, every fear trying to chain you back to average. And still, you rise. Still, you grind. Still, you push forward. Because that's the creed of the Creator. You don't wait for inspiration. You become it. You embody it. You write your legacy in sweat and scars, and you make damn sure your name echoes long after you're gone, not because you were perfect, but because you were relentless, because you didn't fold, because when the storm came, you didn't ask for shelter. You became the thunder. You roared back, and the world moved, because it always moves for the one who refuses to kneel. There is a sacred violence inside you, not cruelty, not rage, but willpower, roaring in silence like a volcano beneath the surface of your soul. The world tried to bury it beneath distractions. It fed you mediocrity, packaged in shiny convenience, and told you to be satisfied. But fire doesn't settle, fire consumes, and now it's your turn to burn through everything that was never meant to contain you. You are not here to play small. You are not here to tiptoe through life avoiding pain. You are here to become the storm that reshapes your own destiny. And yes, it will hurt. Growth always does. You will have to abandon who you were, the version of you that settled, that hesitated, that begged for permission to matter. That version has to die. Let it. Because every rebirth requires a funeral. Bury the doubt. Bury the excuses. Bury the fragile ego that clung to comfort and feared rejection. You were never meant to be safe. You were meant to be sovereign. You were meant to take the weight of this world and mold it into something legendary. But you cannot do that if you're still trying to be liked more than you are trying to be real. You cannot rise if you're addicted to fitting in with people who gave up on their dreams. You have to walk alone for a while, not because you're arrogant, but because you're becoming someone they can't understand yet. They'll call you obsessed. Let them. They'll say you're too intense, too ambitious, too different. Good. Let them whisper your name with confusion, because soon they will speak it with reverence. Let them doubt you. So when you rise, they have no choice but to witness what belief looks like when it refuses to back down. Because the only thing more dangerous than a world that underestimates you is you underestimating yourself. And that's where this war is really fought. Not outside, but within. It's the war between your current identity and your true potential. One is comfortable, predictable, and safe. The other is chaotic, uncertain, and forged through fire. But only one will lead you to become who you truly are. And you already know which one that is. You feel it when you lay awake at night, when your soul whispers that there's more. Not more comfort, not more money, more meaning, more alignment, more fire in your bones when you wake up in the morning. You were not born to wander. You were born to build, to make war with your weakness and come out on the other side as something forged in purpose. That takes unshakable clarity. Because without clarity, discipline fades. Without clarity, your energy leaks out to distractions, to critics, to things that do not matter. But when your vision is clear, you become lethal. When you know exactly what you're building, every no becomes a weapon. Every sacrifice becomes sacred. Every setback becomes fuel. And let me tell you something about those who find that kind of clarity. They don't walk into rooms hoping to be noticed. They walk in knowing they are the fire. They don't chase approval. They command respect by the way they show up, by the way they move, by the way their actions scream louder than their words ever could. They are not waiting to be chosen. They choose themselves. That's the standard now. Not average. Not normal. Not acceptable. Only this: uncompromising alignment with your future self. And if that means leaving behind what you thought was good enough, then so be it. Good enough is the enemy of great. And greatness, true greatness, demands you cut away everything that dilutes your purpose. No more half measures, no more someday, no more waiting for the right time, the right feeling, the right conditions. You are the condition. You are the one who decides that today, now, is the moment everything changes. Not because the world gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. There is a moment in every warrior's life when the noise goes silent. No more applause, no more criticism, no more distractions pulling at your focus like leeches on a giant's back. Only you, and the next step. That is where the real ones are separated from the wishers, the wanderers, and the wasted potential. That is where the unseen grind either breaks you or builds you into something the world can no longer ignore. Because this journey was never about being better than others. It was about being better than your excuses. It was about looking in the mirror and knowing the person staring back at you refused to betray their own destiny. The world does not reward the lukewarm. It does not elevate the passive. It kneels before the relentless, the ones who build their lives on discipline so unshakable it makes talent look irrelevant. Discipline is the sword. Vision is the shield. Purpose is the armor. And you are the one wielding them. So don't you dare insult your future by negotiating with mediocrity. Don't you dare tell yourself this is good enough when you were born to break the mold. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand so tall in your truth that others either rise with you or fall trying to pull you down. And make no mistake, they will try. They will throw stones, question your motives, laugh at your ambition. But what they fail to understand is this: you're not chasing validation. You're forging transformation. You're not out here looking for shortcuts. You are the long road, the hard path, the brutal climb. Because anything less is an insult to the fire inside you. Remember this: the world you want will not be handed to you. You have to bleed for it. You have to rise before the sun, grind after the applause fades, and show up every damn day like your name is already etched in the books of history, even if no one's written it yet. That is how legacies are born. Not in comfort, in commitment. Not in popularity, in persistence. The same world that mocks you today will study you tomorrow, if you stay the course. So don't retreat when the pain comes. Don't fold when you're exhausted. Don't shrink when the pressure mounts. Expand. Let the pain stretch you. Let the pressure refine you. Let the exhaustion burn away what no longer serves your evolution. This is the furnace. This is the forge. This is where your future is carved, not handed. And while the world celebrates distraction, you will be busy becoming dangerous. While they scroll, you study. While they complain, you create. While they chase comfort, you hunt discomfort, because discomfort is where the real ones are born. You don't rise by luck. You rise because you refuse to stay down. You rise because you made pain your teacher, failure your ally, and vision your compass. You rise because somewhere deep inside you a voice still screams, "I was not made to be forgotten." So go. Go with fire in your veins and conviction in your chest. The world may not be ready, but you are, and they will remember your name. Because you became who you truly are. The moment you choose to stand for something greater than your comfort, the world shifts, not in the way you expect. It won't hand you rewards, it will hand you resistance. Because when you rise with conviction, you disturb the slumber of the average. You threaten the illusions others have made peace with. And that is why most never step into who they truly are. Because it costs too much. It costs friends. It costs approval. It costs sleep. It costs every excuse you once clung to for safety. But the real ones, the unshakable ones, they pay the price with pride, because they know the pain of growth is less than the agony of regret. You think Lincoln didn't bleed through the years of ridicule? You think Carnegie built empires without being mocked, doubted, sabotaged? You think Ford created the impossible with the applause of the masses? No. They were ridiculed, doubted, hated, because they dared to believe in a future no one else could see. They had vision, they had discipline, and they had the audacity to become unforgettable. And so do you. But it will require you to shed the old skin. You must bury the identity that was comfortable being overlooked. You must kill the version of you that hesitated every time life knocked on the door of greatness. That person, the one who waited, who feared, who compromised, that person must die for the real you to be born. You were never meant to live as a copy of someone else's expectations. You were meant to carve your own path in the bedrock of this world with blood, grit, and unwavering will. So when you feel lost, confused, exhausted, remember, that's not weakness. That's the cocoon tearing open. That's your metamorphosis. That's your old identity crumbling beneath the weight of who you are destined to become. Let it fall. Let it all fall. The relationships that drain you, the beliefs that limit you, the habits that betray you. Because what you're stepping into is not some polished version of success. You are stepping into war. War against mediocrity, against distraction, against the inner voices that whisper, "You're not enough." You are more than enough. But only when you decide to be. Only when you rise from the rubble of your excuses and say, "I don't care what it takes. I'm building myself brick by brick until my presence feels like prophecy." Because the ones who change the world aren't the lucky. They are the obsessed, the relentless, the disciplined. They don't wait for permission. They don't chase applause. They move like thunder wrapped in silence. So move. Move like your legacy depends on it. Because it does. You don't get to live forever, but you do get to choose what echoes long after you're gone. Become who you truly are, or be forgotten. The clock is not your friend. It is your greatest enemy in disguise, smiling, ticking, whispering lies that you have time. You don't. You have moments. Moments that pass like shadows across the floor of your potential, vanishing if you don't seize them with fury. Every sunrise that greets you is not a gift. It's a test of your will, a test of your vision, a test of whether you'll build or bow. Because make no mistake, the world does not belong to the clever, the charming, the connected. It belongs to those who dare to act with relentless purpose when no one is watching. It belongs to those who don't just dream, but bleed for their dreams. When Carnegie stood on the edge of bankruptcy, when Roosevelt lay broken by illness, when Mandela sat alone in a prison cell, none of them knew if it would work out. But they believed anyway, and that belief, unyielding, unbreakable, became their salvation. Because belief isn't passive, it's aggression in silence. It's violence without chaos. It's saying, "I will walk through fire before I let this vision die." Do you have that in you, or will you fold the second the winds blow against you? Because here's the truth they won't tell you. You will be tested until your soul is bare. Your plans will fail, your support will vanish, you'll scream into the void and hear nothing in return. But if you stay standing, if you endure when everything tells you to quit, Then the universe will whisper back, "You are worthy, worthy of impact, of legacy, of becoming who you truly are." But not before the crucifixion, not before the storm breaks you open and forges you in its chaos. Because destiny doesn't arrive wrapped in comfort. It arrives like a blade, cutting away everything that is not essential. And what remains is you, the real you, the one who doesn't flinch, the one who doesn't beg, the one who doesn't bow, the one who walks into battle every day, not to prove something to the world, but to prove something to yourself, that you're not here to participate. You're here to dominate, to create, to command the forces of life like a storm bent on purpose. So when you rise tomorrow, don't just wake up. Awaken. Awaken to the fire you've tried to numb. Awaken to the roar buried beneath your ribs. Because your destiny is not found in books or blogs or borrowed advice. Your destiny is forged in your own fire, the fire of discipline, of solitude, of struggle, of truth. And unless you light that fire yourself, the world will bury you in darkness. Become who you truly are, or be forgotten. No man becomes immortal by hiding. No one is remembered for being careful, comfortable, or compliant. History burns the names of those who stood in defiance, not just of the world, but of their own weakness, of their own excuses, of every lie they ever told themselves about what they could or couldn't be. You say you want greatness? Then earn it. Not by shouting louder, not by waiting for motivation to strike, but by bleeding for your craft in silence, by doing the work when no one believes in you, especially when no one believes in you. Because if you're waiting to be discovered, you'll wait forever. You don't find yourself, you forge yourself, through action, through obsession, through every single moment you want to quit and choose to rise instead. The world will not give you permission to become who you truly are. You must take it. Carve your name into the stone of time with your bare hands if you must. You are not a spectator. You are the storm they warned about. But here's the truth. They never taught you how to become unstoppable. They taught you how to obey, how to smile, how to shrink. And so you grew up polite, apologetic, domesticated. But your soul remembers the wild. Your soul remembers the chaos of creation, the hunger of becoming, the fire that lived inside you before the world poured water over your spirit and called it maturity. It's time to unlearn everything that made you weak, to tear out the roots of fear with your own hands, to look in the mirror and meet the version of yourself that never bows, the version that doesn't ask for success, it demands it, not from arrogance, but from alignment. Because when your actions align with your truth, when your life reflects the brutal discipline of your vision, then you become inevitable. Not lucky, not talented, inevitable. They can deny your past. They can ignore your efforts. They can mock your dreams. But they can't outrun a man who moves forward like time itself, unforgiving, unstoppable, eternal. That man, that force, is you, but only if you rise now. Only if you kill the part of you that seeks comfort more than conquest. Only if you stop trying to be everything for everyone and start becoming everything you were born to be. No more hiding. No more waiting. No more playing dead in a world that needs you fully alive. You have one life. One. And it is not a rehearsal, so go. Go with fury. Go with vision. Go with a soul so on fire the world can't look away. Become who you truly are. Or be forgotten. History does not whisper the names of the mediocre. It roars with the echoes of those who chose to become, not once, not briefly, but relentlessly. Every day, in every breath, in every hardship, they answered the call, not of society, but of the soul. And now, so must you. You think you were born to play it safe? You think greatness belongs to others? That legacy is reserved for those with connections or privilege? Let me tell you something. Edison had no roadmap. Ford had no certainty. Lincoln had no applause. Carnegie had no safety net. But they had fire. They had conviction. They had a will that would break the bones of circumstance before bending to it. They were possessed, not by greed, not by ego, but by purpose. And purpose is stronger than pain. Purpose will carry you when motivation dies. Purpose will lift you when the world turns its back. Purpose will scream in your veins when your muscles fail and your mind says quit. So stop begging for easy. Stop praying for the path to clear. Set yourself on fire and let your purpose burn a trail through the forest of doubt. This world is starving for men and women who stand tall, not because the world gave them permission, but because they finally gave it to themselves. It is starving for those who no longer fit in because they were never meant to. You were not designed to be tolerated. You were born to be unleashed. You were born to speak with action so loud the silence between your victories becomes legend. You were born to build something so real, so raw, so unstoppable. They will write your name beside the giants, but only if you choose, only if you sacrifice who you were for who you must become. Only if you stop trying to be understood and start demanding to be remembered. You want to be free? Then burn the cage. You want to matter? Then bleed for it, because no one will hand you greatness, and if they did, it would break you. You must become the kind of warrior who can carry it. You must become the kind of soul who can wield it. You must become the fire, because anything less will be forgotten. When they look back at your life, let them not find comfort. Let them not find calm. Let them find a storm. Let them find a force. Let them find a man or woman who made the ground shake, who made time pause, who made destiny kneel. Because you were not average, you were not obedient, you were not hidden. You were everything you were meant to be. And in that final breath, with the dust of the world behind you, you will smile. Not because it was easy, but because you became. Because you were the fire. Because you were never forgotten.